Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Very warm welcome. Women's Day has just passed by. It's a very important theme. Every year, every now and then we hear that we need to empower women and we need to bring them to the forefront, mainstream that what this issue is. Have we risen beyond or above the issue of pure sexism, or it is some sort of a new dimension that was undefined, or it's a new institution that is grooming in or coming in or replacing something. These are a couple of issues which are very complex, but it has a very deep impact of human psyche, in fact on human society and or on the well-being of all of us individually and collectively. And we need an important women who has seen the word, who know the issue, who has performed and accomplished something to discuss it. So that's why we have invited today a very accomplished woman. And when I was working in PTV, for example, and there was no other television channel, she was at a senior position in the same organization, and she has seen the word. She's Faiz's daughter, Moneeza Hashmi. Very warm welcome.
Thank you.
Ma'am, how would you like to start this issue? What this issue is? How would you define women differently that it is defined today?
There is an issue, you're right. And I think we in Pakistan at least sometimes take 2 steps forwards and 1 step back, which is very sad. But I still think, now as you very graciously gave me the dignity of knowing that I have been here for 7 score years, when I look back, I do find that there is certainly a movement forward. The problem is that when you look at things completely in time or blocked in time, then it looks as if nothing is happening. But when you look back over 40 years or even 30 years, I must say the women of Pakistan and the women of the world have certainly progressed and moved forward, fought for their rights, become more aware, become more educated, become more economically independent, financially stable, and if nothing else, become fighters in their own way. Politically, if you look at it, look at the region that we have, look at our Prime Minister, look at the Bangladesh Prime Minister, Sri Lanka President, and so on and so forth, India. So you have scores of women who are taking the field politically. If you look at it economically, you find the same. Women are, just literally at some point the backbone, or at least our handicrafts and our rural areas, etc. So and in the media, my goodness me, I think we are surpassing, if you look at India, if you look at Pakistan, surpassing a lot, in talent and in visual capabilities and in fashion. So, the industries, certainly more women. And if you look at educationally, they are performing far better. Their scores are better, their positions are better, their numbers are growing in colleges and universities. In fact, there are times when I'm sitting with people in academic institutions who are literally fearing the fact that the girls are competing and winning seats, whether it's medical or electrical engineering, whatever it is. So when you look at it like that, then it certainly looks as if we have moved forward, and our daughters and my granddaughters, for example, are way ahead of where I was at that age, and so on and so forth. But of course, again, collectively in that sense, there are areas. And there are areas, as we know, areas in the north, in the south, even in the south of Punjab, where things are pathetically cruel and callous. And that's where we need to make more inroads. So yes, we are moving forward. Yes, we need to do more. Yes, the awareness is coming in. And yes, I think there is a bright future. There is a future there because women are at least becoming aware of the fact that there is a future, and they can see that chink in the armor, or a chink, little bit of light coming in, and they're moving towards it. So the issue is there, and I think a lot of the times it's become a bit fashionable to talk about women also and how bad they are. But look at Afghanistan, look at Africa, look at some parts of Pakistan, look at some parts of India. Yes, more work, much more work needs to be done.
But do you think the pendulum is swing complete?
No.
360 on the other side?
Yeah, of course there is.
Correction.
Yes, of course. That is also unfortunately a problem that always happens, is that when you try to grab something that doesn't belong, or that people think that doesn't belong to you, then obviously the person who's holding on to it doesn't want to let go. So the backlash is coming in a very hard manner, because the fear that I can see sometimes, not sometimes, quite often, is that the male patriarchal society is under threat, obviously. And instead of sharing, it's become a question of domain, it's become a question of control.
So already it is at the social level.
Yes, yes, very much there, and tragically it is being used to frighten the women into submission by using, unfortunately, something that is very, very close to our hearts and to our souls, and that is religion. And the interpretation, or I would like to call it the misinterpretation of religion and the concept of women in Islam, is misused to the extent to cudgel them into submission, which is very cruel. It is not only against this very spirit of the religion and the spirit of the Prophet, peace be upon him, but it is actually downright callous and cruel what they do, and how they make the woman submit to that, because it is their unawareness. It is sometimes, even to be very honest, even I sometimes get a little flabbergasted by the details that are given to me and the interpretations that are given to me that doesn't look quite right. And I think, but this is not what I studied, that's not what I read. Where did you read that? And how did you come to that conclusion from the same book, from the same sentence, which we say and we believe, honestly believe, is actually directly given to us through God? So this is the cruelty of this situation, and I think that is what needs to be reasoned out and explained, and that is what needs to be not felt as if it's a threat, but let's sit down and talk it over. That's what I believe in it.
Right. So may we take a break, and after the break we further analyze the situation and we'll try to evolve some sort of a consensus out there. So please stay with us.
It's diverse.
It's original.
It's SDTV.
Welcome back. Where we are in Pakistan. I mean, if you just want to focus down on Pakistan as an island, how would you?
I think I being the daughter of my father and my mother, for me the glass is always half full, it's never half empty. So I will never give up on the resilience of the women of Pakistan, the faith that I have in them, and the faith that I have in the young women that I see, and the two young women who are growing up in my house, and who I see with such admiration at the age of 12 and 10, the arguments, the conversation, the reasoning that I see from them. So I think all is not lost, not at all. However, there are forces in Pakistan which would not like to see that happen, obviously, within the house, let alone the community and the mosques and wherever else we go. But I think the women of Pakistan are putting up a very, very brave fight. I do feel that very strongly. And there are areas, and I am not saying that just because I don't have facts and figures, but look at the performance, look at the fine arts, look at the fashion that we have, look at the women in management that we have, the women in business, the women in medicine. They're growing everywhere. The question that we have to understand is not the question of numbers, it is a question of equity, which means opportunities. Now, women, if they're not given the opportunity, then obviously they don't have that advantage. So I strongly believe that there is no field, and there will never be a field in which women cannot compete and excel given the opportunity. So, and I think Pakistan, the forces much against their dismay are being forced, really forced, to certainly give way and give some way to women, whether it's in parliament, whether it's anywhere.
They are receding.
They are receding. It's a strong, strong push. And it is at this moment, it is,
it's coming to shove.
Oh, it is absolutely coming to shove. It will. Because let's start looking at the numbers, if you must, and let's look at the numbers under 30 at this time, under 35 at this time in Pakistan. My goodness, those girls, they've really got they may wear the hijab, they may do everything else, but they've got the portion, they've got the brains. So I'm very optimistic.
I was reading some analysis, perhaps by the UN, if I'm not wrong, I'm not sure, but probably by the UN, that in China, because of their policy, it's very difficult to find a bride, because one child policy, and they would prefer. And India, because you know the sex of your child who is not yet born, they would go to abort, and they would have there. But Pakistan it's a strange thing that we criticize Pakistan. Pakistan has a lot more acceptability of women.
Yes.
So here the population, the number are similar, and they want to come over to Pakistan to get a bride. And they say, further down they say, if it is not resolved in this manner, those who are not unable to find the bride it's a fear that to criminalize their society, and that can wreck the society. So I personally understand this goodness must have been in the society in Pakistani always.
Always. I mean, we live in changing times. What it was last generation, the generation before, and what it will be in another generation, another century, I have no idea. But today, when I look at my youth, if I can call it, and I look at my middle age and now my senior age, I could never imagine some of the changes that have happened and some of the mindsets that have changed, and yet some have receded also. I mean, I do say that when I was young and we used to go to churches and we used to read Bible classes, and so I can't think of doing that now. So there is that unfortunate intolerance as well. But on the other hand, there are these children, literally, I mean, a few days ago when I was talking to them and I said, ye sunte nahi hai baat. And my son turned around and said, you're talking to another species, don't you understand? This child is not from your species, it's somebody else. But that is also a very positive thing. So it's a seesaw. It's a yin yang all the time, that you have the goods and the bads. And every time everything is not good, and every time everything is not bad.
But if I give an example from Lahore, my own aunt, my popo, she would study a course of medicine. She was becoming a doctor from the Fatima Jinnah Medical College. And those early days of Pakistan. And another class fellow was Dr. Nabiya Hassan, and that was the first badge of Fatima Jinnah. And from hostel, she would go to the college on bike.
Of course.
And nobody would say anything. But today it's not possible.
Oh, no. My mother cycled all her life, and my father was in jail.
I mean, your mother was
different.
Sat on
the, she was.
It was a different, she was
I know,
a foreigner.
She was a foreigner, yes.
It was different,
but
for a
Pakistani
girl, would go and from a very conservative part of Punjab, from a Jat family,
The first thing when I crossed the border, which I do go to India quite often, and I cross the border into Amritsar, and you see women on motorcycles. And I turn around and I do this, and I say to myself, come on, stop it.
There's a girl down there if you want to see an channel.
I can't help it. I see a girl in jeans, and wow, and I said, come on, you used to. So these are the times which you have to, these are grey times that we have been through, grey times, you see. So like I said, it's not black and white. So you have certain, but this is not. These are not the norm, this is not the norm. But today, look at them driving. We look at girls driving rickshaws, there's a lady driving a lorry.
Very few.
So very few, I know.
Off.
That is how it begins. Only Samina Beg has gone to Everest.
Yeah.
But there will be another Samina Beg who will look at Samina Beg and then go to Everest. So, I mean, there is only one Malala, but there will be more Malalas. So, they have to break that glass ceiling. Once they've broken it, then suddenly the sun shines through. And you say, well, she can do it, I can do it, what the hell? Today, of course, I still am proud of the fact that I was the only first women general manager, but there were now more behind me.
There would be.
Then I was the only, to date I'm still
probably Shazia would be thriving as well.
I was the only, exactly.
And Rifat.
And of course, and I was the only woman director programs, which I still hold that. But you know, it happens. It happens that you think and you find. So,
Yeah.
and yesterday at the Pakistan television, it was just so very nice. I saw these women wardens and women rescue 1122 and women DSP and whatever she was and so and so. And I just stood with them and my eyes were, and they said, "Madam, don't look at us. We are looking at you. You have given us routes. You have given us
Yeah.
how to fly." So it's a give and take. So, but it makes the woman who has achieved something very proud of the fact that somebody is still walking behind her. It would be terrible if there was no one walking behind. So, I mean, if I look at my granddaughters and say, "God, how can you talk to me like that?" I'm so proud that they can talk to me like that. That they are actually aware of the fact that they have rights. They may be young, but their reasoning is clear, and they can ask me, "What did you mean?" I don't remember even daring to ask my mother that. "What do you mean?" Order is an order, right? So you say, "No, Dadi, why? I don't want to do it. Explain to me why I have to do it. Why do I have to have a bath?" Literally. I said, "Because you're dirty." She said, "I'm not. It's my body. How do you know I'm dirty?" Just so what? And I just said to her, "Nobody talks to me like that." And she said, "Well, I can."
I can.
So it's nice. It's nice to know, and this is a fact, and I think this is happening all over the world as well.
You enjoy so much because she's your granddaughter. Perhaps if she had been another girl, you may not.
I have grandsons.
You don't
also.
know.
I don't know. Sincerely, because I didn't have a daughter, so I've never had that gentleness in the house. I only had 2 boys. But now to have this beauty, I have lovely 3 grandsons as well. But these wonderful, beautiful flowers that are growing in my garden, which I didn't have. But you see all kinds of different revolutions happening in this country, which is really wonderful. Look at the media. Look at the media. The media has really blown across and opened up. Not all right, but at least they're talking about certain topics. I mean, I do not remember a time. Just recently, as you know, there's been a wonderful series, Udari, which was on child molestation. We could not discuss it, ever. It happens in every single, if not every single, every 8th, I don't have the statistics, but every 10th or 8th or 12th home, nobody talks about it. Now media is showing it. Single mothers.
But there is another thing. This child marriage, that's a necessity. If you are not going to arm your child today,
of course,
he or she, I'm not talking girl or boy, he or she would
absolutely not talking
get
girl or
hurt.
boy. Yes, exactly. So
it's become necessary.
So now you're talking about it, no?
Yeah.
You're facing it. Transgenders. Could you talk about? Could a transgender want to have their own mosque? Could they demand their votes? This is what you're doing. Could they demand to stand for election? Look at it.
Yeah,
so these are very small changes, minute
but
changes.
they're happening.
But they're happening. So why lose faith?
Yeah, right.
Why
So
lose
here we
faith?
take another break, and after the break, we'll come to the solution part and discuss if there is on the other side, there are some problems. Are we losing something as well? So please stay with us.
It's diverse.
It's original.
It's SDTV.
Welcome back. But there was a very beautiful sacrificing society as well that is changing a lot. When I was a child, my mother would wake up and make a breakfast but today I know so many in families that the children would go without breakfast. And
I don't think you can generalize like that.
But
the needs have changed. If a woman has to get to work at 7 o'clock in the morning, it's a possibility. Then obviously she doesn't have time to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So naturally the children are trained to become self-independent and to do their own homework. That's true. Because it's become a very commercial environment, society, because ends have to be met, money has to be brought to the table, food has to be placed on the table, children have to go to good schools, they can't go on buses because it's not safe, so cars have to be bought, etc., etc. So the demand, I think, on the parents' time, whatever, no class,
Has increased.
no class in the sense that from upper to lower, I find it's all the same. The time has shortened and the demands have grown. Some self-inflicted because you want to get there and you want to earn more money, but some simply because it has to be done. I can say that because I see it in my own home. So I think you're right about that. I myself feel that I have not been able to give the time that I would have liked to give to my sons or what other, because of the fact that there were other needs to be met. And I'm sure my father was the same and so on. So yes, you're right, needs have changed, and then whatever time we have spent on looking at the tablet or looking at our phone or looking at, that the interpersonal connections have gone as well. But it's a new generation, it's a new species. It requires more discipline perhaps. The world has become dangerous. There's violence all over the world. If you don't hear about, first of all, you don't want to hear about it, but you crave it also. You want to find out what happened in Mosul, what is happening in Africa, what happened has Trump done this or whatever. So there is that desire, craving also, and yet you want to say, I don't want to hear about it. And obviously then all of that breeds mental discord, and so the conversation has gone down. There seems to be a lack of personal intervention for different reasons. Was that good? Is this bad? I don't know. We had more time. Yes, we used to go visit people. Now you have to call them 6 days in advance and ask for half an hour, and then they give you half an hour, and then if you. So these times have changed.
Do you think rise of women is to some extent is commercial? More copycats than other things,
Nah.
No. What do you think? I mean, because of the commercial reason.
Well, that's a certain. I think a certain segment.
You want to buy.
You want to buy.
Merchandise,
you want to be.
and
You
all.
want to look. You want to. Certain.
Outshine your neighbor. And all.
I think that was there 100 years ago. You look at all the kings and queens, and you see that they were doing the same.
But when we were children, we were not allowed to meet a certain family, and in Punjabi they would say, "Ki gandi income aati hai inke ghar." You don't need to mix up with them.
I
and
understand,
society,
I've always played with servants' children. So
no, not servants. Haram ki income aati hai.
Haram ki. Oh, sir,
bureaucrat hai aur haram ki rishwat aati hai.
Unfortunately, these days you don't know what is haram.
You don't know.
The halal is haram and the haram is haram. So it's I think.
So society has certain norms.
Yes, certain norms.
And everyone had a role which was very cherished.
Yes.
And the women had a lot more power than today's women who think she's powerful doesn't have the power.
I think in that time, you're right, everybody knew everybody else. There were fewer people. There were wonderful people who, perhaps I think money was not the only commodity that one was looking at that time. One was looking at values, one was looking at progressiveness, one was looking at political thought, stability, so many other things. And I think things have now become a little more diluted now, and anybody who thinks seriously is a fool because he's not spending his time doing other things which are important things like making money or visiting people or so on and so forth. These times are changing, and I believe, I'm a very strong believer in not holding on to the past. You can't do that. You have to move ahead with the times and at the same time try and keep a balance. Which at times is difficult, because as you said, the children will come and say, he does that, why can't I do it? I've got this fight going on all the time with my grandchildren. I want a mobile phone, I want this, I want that, he has it. And you're trying to explain to them that this is not us, this is them. And they can't seem to differentiate between us and them, and they think so that's true. There is a difficult path for people who want to think straight, earn straight, live straight, sleep straight. But I'm sure their numbers are still there because we're talking about them. It's not as if all hope is lost.
And women is victimized.
Women are going to rule this world.
Yeah. That would be, that would be a utopia. We all want to see.
No.
We want to see that. But
that doesn't mean they're all right. Look at the woman in South America who's being impeached. Look at the woman in South Korea who's being impeached. So not all women are good either. That's not the point. And it's not to say that all women are not corruptible also. No? That's not the point. The point is that it's a person. It's the person inside who matters, And so you have to make sure that you have the right values and so on and so forth. women are coming forward only simply because they've been deprived for so long, for centuries. They have been deprived or put aside or whatever. So now they seem to be. I was in Afghanistan some years ago, and I could see that was a time when just after 9/11, so there was a revolution and so on and so forth. And I was teaching a class there in Kabul of young boys and girls who for the first time in their lives, they were 21, 22 years old, were actually sitting in a room with a girl with her face not covered. That was the first class. And they were fighting they were fighting like cats and dogs. Because, and I could
over those girls?
No, about nothing, about whatever I said, they would argue for the sake of argument. Argue. And I used to watch, and one of my interpreter, because they were obviously speaking in their own language, yeah. So I said, and one of my interpreters says, "Madam, shall I interrupt?" I said, "No, this is 20 years. They have to get it out of their system. So you have to get, so whatever is happening now is getting out of your system. Right. Once you get it out, then things will reason out. And then you say, okay, why am I doing this? No, he's not bad. He's okay. It's all right. But all of that cable hitting and Taliban, all that just came out. It was like lava. So this is what is happening now also in a lot of parts of the world. Women are grabbing, and not grabbing right perhaps, or maybe overstretching, overreaching. So things will settle down when they will get there. Everything will be normal, and they say you will get it if you merit it, not because you're a woman. I have stood in lines, I promise you, in several countries, but out of habit, I have just stepped forward. Like in Pakistan, and they've turned, the men in front said, turn out to me, excuse me, there's a line. And I thought, oh, yes, this is not Pakistan, I better move back, stand in line. It's a mental attitude that you have to change. So once they realize that they stand in line and their turn will come, then I think things will quieten down and they'll get what they deserve. And if they deserve better, then they get better. If they don't, then they don't. Let the best man or woman win.
Yeah, I would like to talk for a very long time. And we're coming to the fag end of the program. Just want to ask you one last question. Do you think that the West, which they call that family values, and the Junior Bush said return to the family value, and the unit family is broken there, the same is going to happen in Pakistan, and for no good reason?
I hope not.
Not?
I think because one of our very strongest bonds is the family.
Yeah.
I have a son who lived for 15, 16 years in the States. He came back. And a lot of people thought he was mad to go back, And his wife is Pakistani, not American. But he came back because he feels that he made the right decision. And he just said, you have drawn me back.
Permanently.
And it's permanently back. But it comes and goes. Yeah, expat. It comes and goes because he's a doctor, so he comes and goes. Oh, consults, whatever it is. But the fact is that it is this bond, and these bonds are the bonds that matter. Ultimately, they matter. And I have seen lives there, and it's sad that they will die alone or whatever. I've seen parents separated and so on. So this is not only Pakistanis, not only Americans, Pakistanis. Because when they live there, they have to adopt that culture. You see, and so I think I think this strong bond. They are moving towards more smaller families. Yes.
They are becoming nuclear.
Yes. But I think the actual bond of closeness, whether it has to do with communities or tribal or religion or because our religion, of course, teaches us bonding forever. So I think it won't change that way. But yes, they are moving towards the 21st century, and they should, because they have to compete with the world. They can't stay in a cloister here. Pakistan really is nowhere on the map, right? So you have to move ahead, and you have to compete with the world, and you have to make a statement, and you have to, whether it's political or economic or whatever it is. So you have to make that as well. But I don't think you forget your past. You can't. And that is what draws you back. And that is a strong bond. And I think we need to nurture that and stay with it. That umbilical cord, I think it will never be
It's not ruptured.
No.
It's still functioning. Thank you very much for coming. It was, like always, it was a pleasure having you, and looking forward to invite you again. And with this, we come to the end of the program. Without trying to analyze what has been said, I say goodbye. Next time, next guest, other topic. Keep watching out.